Hi, everybody. It's your podcast sister, Lisa, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio. If you like to discover new music, then you've come to the right place. This is where you'll meet singers, songwriters, and musicians who are living the dream and talking about it on Podcast Sista. On today's show, I will be interviewing the talented, award-winning singer-songwriter and incredible guitarist Danni Stefanetti from Palm Springs, California. Originally from Perth, Australia, Danni's musical career has taken off in the U.S., and she's here to talk about her newly released hit single, Rock and Roll in My Soul. Stay tuned and let's talk music. Welcome, Danni. Thank you for joining me on today's podcast.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me over here again.
My pleasure. Danni, you have had such a busy and exciting year, and I want to first start off the podcast by congratulating you on receiving this year's Josie Award and being named the Multi-Genre Vocalist of the Year. That is
Oh,
such an accomplishment.
thank you very much. Yeah, it was held at the Grand Ole Opry, and it was such an honor to get that award. Absolutely.
Yeah, and since you've been here in the US, you're really making a mark on your musical talents, your guitar abilities. And what is it like to be recognized in the US and win such a high award in the independent music industry for the second consecutive year in a row?
Yeah, it's like as a little girl, you one day dream of, moving to America where anything is possible, really. You can people sometimes come from nothing in America and they're able to build a successful career, and that's the beauty of the American dream. You can move out here and anything is possible. If you work hard enough, you can fulfill your goals. And as a little girl, obviously I got into music very young, and one day dreamed of moving out here. But to get the crowds out here loving what I do and the opportunities that I've had in the couple of years that I've been out here, it's been surpassed my expectations. And every year it's just been like pushing forward and growing, and people have been just so friendly and inviting. And also Tina Marie and Josie at the Josie Awards, they honor independent artists and indie artists that we don't have record labels. Some of us have our own record labels, or we market ourselves and perform and tour, and we have to do it all ourselves. These days the market has changed from what it used to be 10 years ago, so you have to move with the times. And I believe these things like the award shows that are awarding the work that the hard independent artists, all that hard work that we put in to get awarded for that on a special night at the Opry was fantastic. And I was really blown away to get that award again this year. And because it really, the true honor is we get that from the people when I perform live, and I get that energy back from the crowd, and that's why we really do this. But to occasionally get awarded and for the records we put out is just an extra bonus, and it's great that they really come alongside indie artists and have a special night for us. I love that.
Yes, well said. I really
Mm.
enjoyed hearing about the Josie Awards and seeing publicity before and after that event. And it was nice to hear and see that the legendary country singer William Lee Golden and the gospel group The Goldens
Yeah,
also took home a Josie Award for the Gospel Group of the Year. And
that's
congratulations.
awesome.
Yeah, and Danni, how did you meet William Lee Golden and get the amazing opportunity to work with him on two projects this year? Tell us about it.
Well, I want to firstly congratulate William and the Goldens team for that. I don't know if this is their second or third year winning a Josie, but I was there last year when they won one too, and their sons obviously got Musicians of the Year and different things like that. So congrats to the Goldens and William. Um, yeah, I had the opportunity of doing a couple of projects with William Golden, and I actually just got back from Nashville. We were introduced through his best friend of many years, who's also my manager, Jeffrey Panzer. And back in the days with the Grateful Dead and Jerry Garcia and the Beatles and all that, Jeffrey was a television executive in the rock world and met a lot of those up and comers like the Grateful Dead, all those parties, all those um, wild shows they used to do in New York. He was around all that, and what a time to be alive, right? And then William, even though he's in a gospel band, I mean, he was also a rocker. If you saw his beard, if you saw what he was like on stage, he's like a jumping jack Flash.
Yeah.
That vibe of Mick Jagger, yet he was in a gospel group, and from what I heard, he took, I think he got thrown out of the band for a while. He was the rebel. And then he got back in, and the Oak Ridge Boys went from conservative gospel to, crossing over to pop rock music. And Elvira, there came a lot of hits they had. I think that's a bit of the history, if I'm saying it right. But all I know is Jeffrey and William were loved, the Grateful Dead and all that. So they had a common thread in music. They obviously bonded on that. As did I with them, because we all like the same kind of music. And I had the opportunity of the first trip, I heard William's song, and after about 2 years, a few trips here and there to Nashville, a few trips to the Opry, the Grand Ole Opry, and got to go to their beautiful home studio there and sit in their living room and have a grand piano. And, it's just, it happened organically, as it does in Nashville. It's one of those things. Do you want to be part of this? But Jeffrey was on the sidelines trying to get the project underway, and we just finished it and got back from Nashville, and we had a whole week of TV press where William, at 85 years old, wrote his first song. I co-produced it, and it was really like a team effort between the three of us, and then also his son Solomon, who the song was written for. Yeah, and it was a beautiful ballad, country ballad. We got to sit there on the beautiful, the actual same wood that came from the Circle. The WSM Opry radio show had us on for a TV interview, and we were sitting in the same wood as came from the prestigious Opry, and we got interviewed. And the song got premiered on that same day, and it was just like a massive trip,
Oh, I bet.
And it doesn't really seem real because I'm sitting there with a country legend and doing all this radio press he's used to doing probably for 40 years. Gets off his bus, does a radio interview, gets back on the bus, does a show, that he's used to that. But I was kind of taken on the ride for a whole week, and it was so fun.
And the song is beautiful, Danni. And I've got my heart
Thank you.
on you.
Aw.
Is your voices blend so nicely, and I can't
Yeah,
imagine
thank you.
that song without you and that duet together. It just really resonates with everyone. And congratulations on that
Thank you.
project. And what about when you
It was
were
a beautiful project.
it was, and it's going to be a classic, I'm sure. And we're going to play a snippet of that song in a moment.
Great.
But I wanted to also touch on you had a part in the first ever Oak Ridge Boys music video for the multi platinum song Elvira. What was that like being in that video?
Oh, okay. So like sometimes I fly to Nashville from Palm Springs, and I have 4 days there a week, and we get so much done, even those little trips. And that was one of those trips. I went there for the Josie Music Awards. That was like last year. And I happened to be there the same week that they were shooting their music video at one of the old bars, uh, downtown Nashville. You know how they have all those honky tonks in a row, and then they have those double-story bars, and usually they're owned by a country music legend. Well, it was in one of those bars and it was basically set up like a video shoot. It was cameras everywhere. We had our makeup artists at the fruit salads at the back there. In walks Kid Rock and Trace Atkins and Big and Rich, and you're seeing all these stars in the same place at one time, and one by one they're all just rocking up to be basically they're fans of the Oak Ridge Boys. So William told my manager, I'd love to have Danni invite her to be part of the video, and of course I said yes, and I was already in town, so that was a real treat. So I basically used the outfit I was wearing the whole time of the press, went to the makeup lounge, they fixed up my makeup. I got to go into a bus on the way there with the Oak Ridge Boys and share some really nice chats with Dwayne and even Joe before he passed. And, the last thing he said to me was, Danni, I love your new single. And it was a really nice time. And we all got off the bus and enjoyed the moment. And the directors said, you four, I want you on stage. We're going to do some karaoke. You guys are going to sing to the song, and the Oaks are going to walk in and sit there at the bar and watch you guys. So I just had to dance around and, basically sing their song to them. It was a real good time. And Chase Matthews, who's an up-and-coming superstar too in country music, was there. They put me next to him, and he's really tall and I'm really short. So I said to him, you better put that mic down a little bit because I can't get it, But yeah, it was a really, really fun day. Yeah.
Wow, Jeffrey really is a fantastic manager and an icon in what he does, and you're very fortunate to have him on your
Yeah,
team. And
absolutely.
I think it's a good time for our listeners to hear a snippet of your duet with William Lee Golden, I've Got My Heart
Hmm.
on You. And when we come back, let's talk more music.
On the first day that you came into my world, when I saw your eyes and then your smile, how that feeling was. I remember when you told me, I've got my heart on you. Those words I hold down deep inside, how I feel for you. And I'll never live a day without your love. No, I'll never live a day without your love. I could shout it from the roof at the top of my lungs. Oh, it's you. I've got my heart on you.
Traveled across the country from the East Coast to LA. Took an all-night flight to London. Saw Paris along the way. Walked Virgin Island beaches. Watch the moon rise across the bay. Thank God now for treasured times. Your beautiful place.
I love that
Okay.
song, Danni.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Danni, let's keep talking about your busy schedule. You have been songwriting, performing, and recording in the studio, and you are going to release a single, Rock and Roll in My Soul, on November 6th. And I want you
Hmm.
to tell us about this song, but also what makes it different from the other songs you have released.
Well, the big difference, well, we just released I've Got My Heart on You, the country duet with William Lee Golden. But obviously that's more of a ballad and very country production. This is a complete rock and roll. Now, when I was 17, I released a rock EP, and I was really into rock at that time. And I'd just come out of high school and all that. And I've kind of gone back to that because it's like got heavy riffs and everything. But what separates that from even the stuff I released when I was that age, 17, like was really fresh to the electric guitar at about 15. That's when I started learning all my riffs and stuff. But the big difference between my older rock stuff, the newer stuff I released, I went through a folk balladeer era. I went through like, all different, like I loved soul and different things. But Rock and Roll in My Soul has those elements of Chicago and the horns, which came from my co-producer Jeffrey's ear, especially because he's like been in the studio with Wilson Phillips and Stevie Wonder and a lot of Motown artists. Now, that wasn't really where my ear used to go to, because I love my jazz, my Nora Jones, and the singers like Eva Cassidy and the rockers that play blues. But I never saw horns or anything like that on my music. So when I played this voice memo to Jeffrey, I kind of said that, this was not really, we were going to make a rock record, and this one was probably the most rock on there. But when you hear it as a voice memo without the drums and the bass and everything, I was like, I could pass, I don't know if I like it that much. But like the melody was there and it was sounding great, but it wasn't like, I was like, yeah, how are we going to produce this? Like, where do I start? Because it needs such a big production, but it's like drums, bass, electric, He's like, no, it needs horns. I was like, horns? How am I going to do that? So this was one of the last tracks we recorded on the album. And apart from, we nearly didn't work together after this one because the horns drove us crazy with all the layers and the harmonies. And at that time, I'm trying to put the horns down on my laptop keyboard before I even had a MIDI keyboard. So I was like completely guessing and trying to use my ear to find the notes, because the notes on the laptop keyboard don't show them, they're just letters. So that was a guessing game in itself. So I now have my MIDI keyboard all set up, but I wasn't expecting to do any brass, and I play by ear. I'm not a theory girl. I've always played by ear. So I can do jazz, but brass was a little bit out of my lane. So Jeffrey was like, no, it's a third above. It's a third above. No, it needs to go here. You're driving me crazy, We got there in the end. It sounded massive and really fat. And I guess that's the Chicago influence that Jeffrey had in mind for this production, which was a strange combination with my voice, because I've never heard that. I've put strings behind my music before, and cello and harp, even glockenspiel, but never horns. So I think it's that soul element that was slightly different to my other rock projects that definitely separates it.
Well, I think that this is a great time for our listeners to hear a snippet of Rock and Roll in My Soul. And when we come back, let's talk more music with Danni Stefanetti. Here we go.
Baby, have you got my number? I've been thinking about you all summer. I know you got your eyes on the camera, but I've been thinking about no other. I like the
What a great song. I love that rock and soul sound. And I'm glad that you and Jeffrey were able to nail that sound with the horns, and it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Lisa. We actually had a lot of fun producing this one.
And
I really stretched me, but it was actually when we heard it back, we were so happy with it.
so, Danny, with your ability to co-produce and handle the engineering aspect of, say, incorporating the horns, and you said it was your first time, I think you're a natural. How did it feel, take this challenge on and come out a winner?
I feel like we both came out as winners because we co-produced this whole record pretty much over the telephone. So I'm sitting there. I built this home from scratch that I had my guitars, the laptop, my earphones, my microphone, all that, my interface. But it was like learning the brass and learning how to engineer from scratch after the pandemic. And basically I had one of those TV dinner stands where I'd put my equipment on, and I'm in the middle of this farmland in Ukaipa trying to make this album sound like something that's produced down in a big studio that's $1,000 a day in LA. So it's like I'm trying to get the best possible plugins and sounds I can pull and reverbs for the guitars and making my guitar sound like a different instrument even so that I can still play the notes and make it sound like a keyboard or whatever sound I wanted. But my hands know the guitar, so I had to somehow use that as my strength in this whole album. And I did feel like I came out a winner just like every day. Some days I would like sit there for 6 hours and learn like tutorials on how to like engineer and mix. And it was a big task. I didn't really think it was possible, but I think I don't really know the timeline. Like we were kind of doing like a song every like 1 to 3 days. Some songs would take 1 day, some songs would take 3 days, and then the mixing we left till the end. But we were kind of like mixing as we went. But it was like I'm glad we like didn't overthink it because it just like kind of happened on its own. I wrote the songs in 2 afternoons, and then bang, we're gonna produce it ourselves. We're not gonna, we didn't have to hire session players. It was a big project.
Yes, I
I
can
didn't think it
imagine.
was possible for 2 people, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that as well. I mean, it is a big
Thank
year
you.
for you, Danny. And with the song Rock and Roll in My Soul, something tells me that you love to perform this song live because the
Hmm.
video for the song is centered around you playing live on stage. And could you tell us a little bit about that video for that song? And give us a sense, and I really encourage our listeners to check it out on YouTube.
Yeah. So the Rock and Roll in My Soul music video just got premiered on YouTube. Yes. And it was shot in Ukaipa Performing Arts Centre. Our friend Evan B. Stone, that is also a longtime friend of Jeffrey Panzer. They used to do, I think, Three Doors Down music videos and all sorts of stuff together. And I think Three Doors Down. I don't know if Jeff did that or Evan did that, but all I know is Evan does lots of documentary styles, and Michelle Branch and all different type of artists. And I had the pleasure of him and his daughter Zoe coming out to Ukaipa filming it, and they edited it after, and it looked really fantastic. I was actually opening for an artist called Mark Farner, and he's the lead singer of Grand Funk Railroad, an old rock and roll band. So I had a rock set ready because I knew that he's very rock leaning, and I wanted to really, use that stage, bring the guitars out, electrify myself. I did so many folk shows that just had the acoustic guitar. I really wanted to bring that PRS out and the Strat and just really give people an up-tempo concert. And we captured that on video. And that was one of the songs that we heard back. And then we realized that should be the next single. So it was just one of those things that came together. We just were feeling like, I think that's the next single.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it just felt right to bring it out after summertime.
Yeah, and that was from Danny's Diamonds, Rock and Roll in My
That's right.
Soul, as well as the hit single from that album, The Timing Was On. And
Hmm.
um, touch on the album. There's 11 songs, right, on the album?
Yeah, that's right. We haven't released, I don't know if it's like 10 or 11, but we have released You Got Me Thinking of You. That was the first single to drop. Um, that's done really well in the UK. Got on some indie radios, like number one, I think 8 weeks in a row or something out there in the UK. It had some radio success in Australia too, and with numerous stations in the States have picked it up. The Timing was released on Valentine's Day that February, and that also has the video was edited by Jeffrey and Evan again, and I was there. I actually had this edit of all these stock footage kind of places of Manhattan and ice skating rinks and very serendipity type style, and I showed the guys it and I said, this is kind of what I'm thinking, but I got to film it on my iPhone and put a green screen or something, and I'm out here in the desert, but I want the desert to look like Times Square, so how are we going to do this, guys? How are we going to put me in a billboard in the middle of Times Square? But they worked it out, so I was really happy with how that video came out, and it has like a dreamlike feel about it, where people are passing by, but you meet people at the right time
Yeah.
in your life,
Yeah.
and that was a really special song, and that's been actually been a slower build than You Got Me Thinking of You, but it's actually the streams are going up on that one, and it's still going, and people still listening to it, which I'm really happy with. So this would be the third single off Danny's Diamonds, and we got plenty more, and every song is different on this record, so it's like they're all singles, so I'm glad we didn't just put it all out as one batch. I want people to really get hooked into each single and take it in, and they're like little stories. So
Yeah. So, what do you think our listeners should look forward to for 2025?
wow, that's come so quickly,
I
2025.
know.
Well, I think plenty more music. I have plenty more shows coming up in the California desert. I do want to I've been saying this for a while. I really want to get to Texas. Or I already got back to Nashville, but I want to play in Texas. I want to play in New York. I don't have any shows out there right now. It's all California, but you never know. Maybe for the summertime, I would love to see a bit more of the states. Have different states hear me as well. But for now, it's videos and audio, and you guys can share my videos and share it with your friends so that they can hear my music too, because there's plenty out there, and I hope they're enjoying you can go back on my YouTube and see, like, This Moon Looks Pretty Tonight, and I've got heaps of singles that I released in Australia as well. So, and the other cool thing that's been happening is we've had some movie directors and television music directors kind of like very interested in our new music for upcoming projects. So you may hear some of these Danny's Diamonds in other things that come about with all
That's
the
exciting.
television streaming. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that, because a lot of my songs do suit film. They're very TV film leaning. So you never know. That could be another way that you might hear my music. But at the moment, we're just we've written a new song together, and I'm just excited. I got a really big tour in California coming up. I think I got about 30 new shows coming up. So yeah, just keeping busy with that right now. But people can keep an eye on my music, my videos, and all my press updates on my website, DanniStefanetti.com, and everything's there. Even the press tour that I did with one of the Oak Ridge Boys, all the videos are on my website. of different outlets that we were on recently in Nashville. So yeah, if you want to keep an eye, do it on there. And I'm usually more active on Instagram as well.
Well, there you have it. I encourage everyone listening to download Danny Stefanetti's music and add it to your collection. And Danny, thank you so much for being
Thank
on the
you.
podcast again. And I look forward to having you back on Podcast Sista.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lisa. It's so fun to come on your show. And I see all your banners and your artwork that you put out there, and it's adorable. I love it, what
Oh,
you're doing. And
thank you. Well, Danny, like I say, that's a wrap.